Hall, welcome to Invisible Impact. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to dive into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hannah is a former Division I college soccer player. She now works in professional sports industry. And unfortunately, Hannah, you've been a part of this PCS community for a really long time.
Still a part of it.
Still a part of it. Yeah, it doesn't go away.
No.
But started very young for you. I think we're just going to dive right in. So, Hannah, we've talked to a lot of different people that you can get concussions so many different ways. Obviously, a big one is with contact sports. I know that's part of your story with soccer. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened when you were 13 and how this whole journey kind of started for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll make it very clear. From the get-go, I was age 5 living in Tucson, Arizona, and my parents would pull me out of kindergarten early to drive me to Phoenix, Arizona, a full hour and a half, just so I could go practice with a club team. So from a young age, I very much knew that soccer is where I wanted to be. It's what I wanted to grow in, and it's what I wanted to do in college. So I'll get that just started.
Yeah,
just
soccer
so
is
you
life.
can paint the picture
Yes.
of how ambitious I was just from a young age and knew that soccer would be where I'd want to pursue, what I'd want to pursue. So for me, I was 13 and I was playing in a middle school soccer game. Now, middle school soccer is it's easier. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's school sports. It's not club. It's not, I don't know what they're calling it these days, but it's not serious.
Right.
My parents were like, please do not play it. You're just
Yeah,
with
yeah,
people that
you
aren't
just
super amazing. It's just for fun. And I was like, no, I really want to have fun and be with my friends.
Yeah.
And sure enough, one night, and I think it was January 2013, was dribbling down towards the goalkeeper, and she takes me out. So there was 3 really bad hits, I'll say, in one night. Let me start with that.
Oh, in one night.
Yeah.
Wow.
So 3 really bad hits in one night. I'm dribbling on a breakaway towards the goalkeeper. She takes me out, hit my head. That's the first one. I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't know how to pinpoint it. So my coach takes me out. And of course, we're playing the rival. I'm one of the better players, respectfully. And they're let's go back in, pushing me back in. And I'm like, I can't really pinpoint what it is. I just know that I'm pretty sure I hit my head pretty hard on the grass. And it's a winter hard grass. You know how it is. It's not spring grass. It's hard. It's hard and icy and kind of rainy. And so I go back into the game. I'm literally sprinting. I don't even have the ball. I'm not dribbling.
Oh.
And I just get tripped up in another girl's cleats. It was like she kind of decked me almost.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to explain it, but it kind of felt like how a football player tackles someone.
Yeah.
I completely just got tripped up and hit my head on the ground, and then someone comes and steps on the back of my head / neck.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah, not super great. And immediately after that, I believe I fainted for a second, probably blacked out, got taken over to the sideline, threw up, and my parents immediately drove me to the hospital.
That is very scary and a very big injury to tackle when you're 13. I'm just trying to, I can't remember 13, but it just sounds so young now, really looking back. When did you kind of realize, and I don't even know if you knew anything about concussion then, but when it was okay, this is not getting better in 2 weeks?
No, yeah. So it was all very new to my family. I'm the oldest of, my siblings, so I'm the first one to kind of go through the whole process with sports. And we've dealt with, a broken elbow. We've dealt with an ankle sprain, but we've never dealt with a concussion before. Kind of at that time, back in 2013, all you knew is okay, sit out for 2 weeks. It was a mild concussion. After we went to the ER, all the MRI scans came back normal, and it's a mild concussion. So we're like, okay, cool. I immediately go back to school the next day.
Okay.
Because back then it wasn't, told that you need to sit out, rest, take a mental break is what I should say. The physical break I knew that had to be done, but the mental break with school, I didn't know anything about that. My parents, I think, tried to tell me to relax, but I was getting put into a student council position at a rally. I wanted to be there, okay?
Yeah, of course.
I didn't want to miss it. I'm 13. Let's keep that in mind. So like I said at the beginning, I'm a very high functioning,
Yep.
I'm
Go-getter.
I'm a go-getter. Yeah, I always want the best. It's the athlete in me. It's how my parents raised me. I want all A's. I want that. And we realized something was wrong because I was staring at my textbook and I was trying to understand like the information that I was reading, and I'd ask my mom, like, I've been reading this a few times and I still don't understand it. Like, can you help me? And I think my mom then knew that something wasn't right. And school was not coming to me easily. Like, math was easily, like, my favorite subject. I can barely do it now to this day. So there was something evidently wrong. They took me to a neuropsychiatrist at the Children's Hospital from where I'm from, in my hometown. And as they were doing the tests, I can't recall what the tests are called, but, you know, there's the cognitive test, memory test, etc. They tell me that I can recall 3% of information given to me in the short term. I have a very high IQ, and, like, they can tell that I'm coming across, you know, bright, I'm outgoing, you know, I got a smile on my face, but I can only recall 3% of information in the short term. So that opens up a whole nother discussion for how school and stuff went.
Yeah, and that's incredibly significant, 3%. What did you kind of do from there? That must have been so challenging. I know, it's like you're like, okay, we have to rewind all of these years.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's something that's super important because, I mean, my battle from 13 to especially through college, I would say, was extremely, extremely hard. I was on home hospitalizations, I think 4 times throughout my high school career. I was on a 504 plan, which I don't know if you have the textbook definition of a 504, but basically just having some extra accommodations within school. But then that wasn't even enough. So I was on an IEP plan, which is an individualized education plan, which I believe is more by the law and, you know, something that should be abided by. Well, you would think that. But there was often times where, I mean, it was a battle. Like, school in general was a battle to get through. And, sorry, it's hard for me to talk about.
That's okay.
But there's the social aspect, there's, like, the mental aspect, the school aspect of how difficult it was.
Yeah. Let's start with just the school aspect of it.
Cool.
And you're trying to graduate high school.
Mm-hmm.
What was the most challenging?
The most challenging part was just getting through school, truthfully.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an uphill battle in every aspect. Socially, I was around people who didn't quite understand what I was going through because it is an invisible injury, And when you're 13 dealing with that, like, no one knows any better. All they know is that one of their top-notch athletes got hurt, and why is she sitting out, and why is she coming to school late, and I don't understand why she gets extra time on tests. And there's a lot of that I was dealing with. And then on top of that, emotionally, I'm not right. Mentally, I don't know how to pinpoint what I'm feeling at that point because, again, I'm 13, 14 years old at this point and not really understanding, wow, like, this injury, you know, it's been a year and a half now and I'm still not feeling right. And I'm having headaches every day to the point where I'm in a dark room. My mom is trying to get me out of bed. It's already, you know, 9 a.m. I should have been at school at 8:30, and I don't end up going until 10 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, it was very difficult, and rearranging my school schedules to make sure that my easier classes were in the morning because I could miss the easier classes. Like, there were still things that came to me pretty easily, but making sure that I wasn't missing science class and math class that was later in the day. So kind of being strategic in that sense and working with my teachers and the system essentially to ensure that I would be able to get to that, be on a path that was going to make sure that I was successful. Because ultimately the goal was still to play Division I sports. Now, I was out for a year and a half, a full year and a half, before I returned to playing. And it was like a soft return to playing. Like, I was still kind of playing, but also in and out. I mean, every single game that I played in high school, I would play the night of, and then the next day be in bed till, like, noon. And miss so many periods. And I was really just doing the most to, like, survive school, making sure that I was getting enough time to be able to play and participate because there's a certain amount of periods that you need to be a part of. and grades and stuff like that. And that's just like all the struggle that I feel like no one saw, you know?
Sure.
No one is seeing that, you know, at home I'm having debilitating headaches. All
Right.
they're seeing is that I'm coming to school late but still playing, which is confusing, I'm sure, but it's none of their business.
Right.
You know, that's what I was going to do, and I set that goal from a very young age that no matter what, I wasn't going to settle. You know, NAIA, D2, both are great, but I knew I wanted to be a Division I athlete. That's what I put all my time and effort to. So it was very hard navigating it from all of those perspectives. From the academic perspective, that was a battle in itself. And that's where I'll go into having a great support system is essential to concussion recovery, even to this day. But going back to age, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, I mean, my parents are in these IEP meetings advocating against a teacher because, 17-year-old Hannah is being told by English teacher, no, I'm not going to give you extra time on this test. And no, you can't, you can't turn in this assignment late.
Right.
All the things that should be abided by per this legal document that is literally a law. Right. And I'm sitting there in classroom in front of my peers arguing with a teacher. It's not okay. And it wasn't fair. And I think that's one thing when it comes to post-concussion syndrome is being your own advocate, but also ensuring that you have that strong support system. Because my parents, it led to hour-and-a-half-long meetings with teachers who were just like, well, she's playing, so what's the deal? Well, the deal is it's my brain.
Right.
It's not, you can't see it, but I am struggling. And the numbers show it. The numbers show I can't retain this anymore. The numbers show I can't process as quickly anymore. Right. So abide by the numbers. And that wasn't happening a lot of times. And I got a lot of judgments made at me. I mean, I love my high school coaches, but even there was times where it was like, Hall, you got to get your grades up. And it's like, well, I mean, trust me, I know. Like, it's not normal for me to have a D in math either. Trust me. And it was just the weirdest thing. And I still face it to this day, this battle internally, but also feeling like I'm always advocating, whether that's whatever that is, at a doctor's office or, with teachers back then. It's like it's always a constant battle. And the weirdest part is, like, I'm not a bad kid. Like, my parents raised me right. I always got straight A's. Like, this isn't who I want to be. Trust me. And that, I think, was the hardest part, I think, of the academic journey.
Absolutely. No, it's so challenging, again, like we said, because it's invisible. They can't see it. So then you're having to defend every single thing you're going for and not being believed is so challenging. What would you say while we're in this little chapter of high school to either a high schooler who's watching this or the parent of a high schooler trying to navigate it right now? What would be, I know, I'm sure you have plenty of advice,
There's
but one
so
is
much.
One piece of encouragement maybe that you would have for them.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is get a neurologist. Like, I know it doesn't feel necessary sometimes when you have a primary doctor that's saying, 2 weeks, take it off, or a physical therapist, whatever that is. But see the neurologist if you can get into it. That's a whole other issue in itself of how hard it is to get into a neurologist and to find that correct care team. But that's the first thing. I've noticed that with a lot of people. I am a mentor with Concussion Legacy Foundation, and that seems to be one of the hardest parts. Because then from the neurologist, it opens this door of you're getting these tests done, and next thing you know, they're sending you to the neuropsychiatrist, or I don't know what the tester is called, but sending you to get those tests, and then you can get academic support. A lot of people don't realize it, and they try to go through school without those academic supports. It is so helpful. I literally would not be graduated with college if I did not have those supports, truly. And I'm so grateful, especially in college, it was so hands-off because it's like college, you know what I mean? No one cares about anything. They're just going to give you your extra supports. And a lot of it was online, which made it kind of easy. But that's a big part of it, take advantage of those. Like, look into that special education plan. A lot of people I've met also have a lot of pride when it comes to it. They're like, I don't want to be a part of that. Do it. It will make it 10 times easier. Now, the advocating part, that's a whole nother thing. Like, I think it's really important to put yourself in someone else's shoes. It's just basic empathy. Like, you can't see the brain injury, but you have to understand, like, this is the brain. And I don't know the discussion is crazy to me because when it comes to concussions, because it's the brain.
Right.
It controls everything. So why would we not care? Why would we belittle a 17-year-old and say, you can't have this academic support? It's the brain. Like, it's so complex. You can't understand it. So who are you to say what I can or cannot have, again, when a document is saying it? So having that strong support system, because, again, I'm, at that point, I think I was 17 dealing with that. It was my senior year, and I'm pretty strong-willed. Like, I would say, like, my parents raised me that way. So, like, in my head, I'm like, I'm not going to take this.
Yeah.
But it's exhausting. And I'm thankful that, my dad was able to be in those IEP meetings and advocate. So the importance of a strong support system is essential. I wouldn't be where I am today as a professional, as a woman, all of it without my support system, whether that's my family, now the caregivers and my care team that I have, my boyfriend that helps my everyday. Care team is super important.
And part of that, to build that strong support system, is letting people in and being able to, like, tell them what you're going through and what you're struggling with.
Yeah.
I know some people really, they're like, I don't want to tell my friends, I'm embarrassed,
Yeah.
or they just keep it to themselves. What would you say to them?
It is so important to be able to talk about it with someone that you trust. And easier said than done at that age. Again, I'm a mentor, so I mentor someone who's age 17 and, like, she doesn't want to talk about it. And that's okay, but you got to find one person that can at least get you that help that is so essential. And that's why at age 25, still dealing with post-concussion syndrome, it's so important for me to talk about it, because I want to help those people who are age 15, 16, 17 dealing with this post-concussion syndrome or just a concussion recovery in general,
Right.
and help them through it, because there are so many feelings and different areas that come within concussion recovery.
And it's really easy to feel alone when
For
you
sure.
feel like nobody understands.
Mm-hmm.
Touching back on a little bit of the mental health side, where we're kind of like there in the high school, if you're comfortable talking about it, you just like mentioned it a little bit. And I think it's so important for people to understand that, like, anxiety, depression, that suicidal ideation is common after concussion, and the risk is increased, and that's just a fact. There's nothing wrong with you if that's what you're feeling, if that's what you're experiencing. Like, that, again, like you said, it's your brain, and that controls so much. If you're comfortable, what was that experience like for you?
It was scary. It was definitely isolating,
Right.
as you said. I think everything kind of shifted. And I had two kind of big mental health points, I'd say, within my concussion recovery. One was immediately when it happened, and, like, not immediately, but, like, after a few months, and I was like, okay, this is weird. Like, nothing is getting back to normal. Again, you're stripping someone's identity as an athlete, but then you're stripping away someone's identity as a student. So when both of those things, especially when you're someone who loves to strive and, like, is always going for the best grades, the best, athletic capabilities, that was my lowest. I literally was just, like, distraught. And I'm age, again, 14. You're not really comprehending anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that paints the picture. It's, like, all of those areas where I normally thrive, and that is what my identity goes with, were stripped away from me, and trying to learn to be, like, okay, like, what do I like to do? Like, I don't know.
So hard.
But then it's like, it's not even about what I like to do, because I'm just trying to get through the day.
Exactly.
I'm literally in a dark room half these days just watching TV.
Right.
Okay, like, after I, like, finally was able to watch TV. But, like, dealing with that, like, I don't even, there was just nothing. Like, it felt like nothing. And I had never dealt with depression, never dealt with anxiety, never dealt with needing, like an attention, like ADHD. Like,
Right.
I take, what is it called? Like an Adderall-esque,
Yep.
prescribed. And I've never dealt with any of that before.
I would love to hear more. You talk about the debilitating headaches.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of, I want to talk about the headaches and also hear, like, any other symptoms that you were experiencing at that time.
Name some.
Yeah. Oh, you're like all of them.
Literally name
Literally
some.
all of them. Sure.
With the headaches, I literally had to be in a dark room. And it's kind of would go between, like, a sharp headache in one area of my eye, not necessarily like a migraine, but just like a horrible headache. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. I could just, like, visually feel my brain, like, just like that. Like, just so horrible.
this is usually alarming for people to hear, and you're not going to know the number, but like approximately how many days in a row do you think you had a headache?
Oh, I wasn't going like a day without a headache for like at least 2 years.
Isn't that crazy to
Without
think about?
some sort of pain. Yeah. That's not normal. That's not normal to deal with. So that's why even when I'm sitting here right here, like with you right now, I have a little bit of pain right now.
Yeah.
That's not normal to
Right.
deal with.
Right.
That's chronic pain at this point. Probably chronic pain.
100%.
So, yeah, I mean, it was pretty brutal. Like, there was not a day, especially in that period, where I was going without a headache, truthfully. And I would do ice packs. I would put Vicks on my nose, like try anything to help the headache. But really, it was just like I was just sleeping a ton. Like, that also probably speaks to the mental health part at that point. But I was sleeping a ton, staying in a dark room, not super social. When I was on home hospitalization, like literally just staying in the room and just trying to do the bare minimum. That's how my headaches were for most of it until it finally got to a place where I could play again, and I took my shot at it and ultimately succeeded, but not without pain after every game.
So talk about that when you're saying after every game, then you'd sleep until noon. Was that because of the headache after playing, and you'd just be drained?
I'd just be tapped out. It's the oddest thing looking back, but quite literally after every single game, I was dealing with pain.
Was that after practice too?
Sometimes. It kind of depends on like how much intensity I think I was putting in. And I wasn't even heading the ball for the most part. Like, there were instances, which we could get into, but I mostly wasn't. I was being very cautious. I think my style of play changed a lot. I'm 5'1", and I was I'm petite, but I was even more, like, underweight at the time. So my style of play has always been very creative. I like making plays and dishing out the ball. I'm like a center mid at heart.
I was just going to ask you, are you a midfielder?
Yeah, I'm a center mid. Yeah, I love like just the creativeness of it.
Yep.
And I, had a lot of technique that a lot of players didn't have. I'm not necessarily like going to win every header, but this is my style of play. And I really learned to like kind of go into that craft a little bit more, especially after the head injury, because I wanted to be very cautious of my brain.
But you were still feeling that pain.
But I was still feeling that pain. Yeah, like every time. And I don't know what exactly it was, but it wasn't really an option for me to not play because in my mind I wasn't going to not do it. So my mom and dad would always say, like, you could retire. Like, it's fine. Like, we're so proud of you. And I was like, nope. Like, we're going to get through it. We're going to do this. Like, I didn't come all this way for absolutely nothing is kind of my perspective on it. And I refused. So I remember like a school psychologist, I had to talk to them one time. I don't know why, but it was a rare occurrence. And he was like, like, want to retire? I'm like, no, like, it's not worth it to me. And I'm glad I didn't, truthfully.
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't. I achieved my goal.
Yeah, and that was so important to you.
I got to play Division I soccer. I committed to San Jose State when I was a senior, or right before my senior year of high school. So it was already late. And, I mean, it was not easy getting recruited. I'm from Fresno, California. My dad drove me up to San Jose, California, which is a 3.5-hour drive for practice, just so I could get, better shot at getting recruited and being on a better team. So, again, it's kind of one of those things where I'm putting in a lot of work where it was like I needed to do it. And not because of any external force, purely just like internally, I needed to accomplish that. And I did. And I got some good playing time. We won a Mountain West championship in 2018, like things you just never forget.
Yeah.
But I did soon realize, even at the collegiate level, that I was dealing with it. And again, it's a different type of pressure because you're on a scholarship. And it's like, I wasn't necessarily like super open about my concussion injury. Like I think it was known, but I don't think it was, and they knew I didn't really head it and stuff like that. I tried to do it the least amount possible.
Yeah. But
the extent in which, how much pain I was in, I don't think I really realized until like there was one day specifically, I had an assist at Cal Poly. We were playing in a game and I recorded my first ever career assist, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, my mom was there. Like, it was such a thrill. And that whole bus ride home from San Luis Obispo to San Jose, horrible headache. And then adding on traveling by airplane and stuff like that, terrible. I would often just like sit alone in my dorm room. Luckily, I had teammates who would come in and, watch a show with me. But yeah, it's hard because it like impacted like my college. Everything, like socially, like, I'm not going out and partying and drinking as much. Like I still definitely got to enjoy all those things, and that's a whole other aspect of concussion recovery. And me, even to this day, is like picking and choosing the battles and, knowing I'm going to have a headache after I do X, Y, Z,
Was that when it was kind of your breaking point that you're just like, I can't do this anymore?
I had a phone call with my dad, and I literally remember walking through San Jose State's like quad, and I told him, I don't know how people live with this.
Yeah.
That was it. Like I remember saying that and just I wasn't feeling low necessarily, but I just remember feeling like I'm in so much pain. And I am finally doing what I got to do, but I'm like a lot of pain. That's not normal.
Yeah.
It's not normal to live like that. It's not normal to have a headache after every single game. And again, despite, people telling me, I didn't want to hear it, but that's not a normal thing. It's not normal.
No. No, it's horrible.
Yeah, and that's like kind of a sad thing to say. And I wasn't thinking of doing anything to self-harm or anything at that point, but I just remember thinking like, this is why people take their lives.
Yeah. Because
it's debilitating, and you don't want to let go of your identity, but you also can't deal with this pain.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a big moment for me, and all these life things kind of built up again in that sophomore year, and it caused me to just break down, but to the point where I was just like not functional. Like I couldn't get up, I couldn't go to practice. I couldn't get myself to go to school. I just couldn't do it. And so from there, we had to get professional help. I was a part of like an intensive outpatient program at like a mental health facility. And that really helped clear things up for me. And someone, at, I think it was like Stanford Medical Center or whatever, they were like, so you have a history of concussions. And I'm like, yeah, like I do, and this is like with my assistant coach. Like this is like pretty serious, And she's like, that's, that like changes the way your brain works.
Right.
And that's something to like acknowledge. And I was like, yeah,
I don't want to.
Yeah, like I don't want to, but like, yeah, I think you're right, And I kind of got to work through that, along with some other things I had been dealing with, in this therapy, and working through that identity loss and working through, what could Hannah Hall look like after sports?
If you're looking for resources like education to help you understand what you're going through, doctor recommendations, maybe some physical therapists or vision therapists in your area, peer support to connect with someone who's been through persistent post-concussion symptoms, there's an incredible free resource that I would really love for you to check out. It's a helpline that's linked right below. You fill out a form on the website, and a member of our care team will be in touch within 2 days to learn more about you, what you've been going through, and how we can get you the help you deserve.
Luckily and unluckily, COVID happened. And so that was a blessing in disguise almost, because COVID caused soccer to shut down. So it was crazy because it was like I went through all of that therapy and I returned to play again.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. I was like feeling it, and I think I had been on medication or something, and everything was great again. And I was doing kind of good. And everything shuts down, and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So I found myself living in Nebraska for 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
For my first internship.
Wow.
Yeah, with a summer baseball collegiate team. And fell in love with it, and I was like, this is a way to kind of be a part of a sport without being in a sport, but still getting that rush, especially like kind of in events and stuff like that. And ultimately, I returned home that summer. We had returned to our fall meetings, and they were talking about how like we're in a bubble and like parents can't come. And I was like, this isn't worth it.
Yeah, I'm out.
I'm done. Like, it's not worth it, but it's not worth it because of my head. Like, if there's a time to leave, this is the time. Let's pursue this sports thing and like let's get after it. And that just like I had a new life, and that was it.
Oh my gosh, what a amazing feeling. I'm sure. I'm so glad that you were able to find that like different outlet. Can you remember like after you officially decided, okay, I'm done with soccer, I could ask you a million questions about that, but I want to know from like the physical standpoint, like what did it feel like when you finally started to get some relief?
It was kind of crazy. It was like, oh, I'm not putting myself through this vigorous workout. Like, I don't necessarily need to get a headache, you know?
Yeah.
I don't like have to because I'm not doing it. I'm not putting my body through that. I mean, there's still so many things I deal with, but it allowed me to really focus on my career, which was a great opportunity, and kind of pursuing these internships and stuff like that.
What does PCS look like in your life today?
Well, I'm in vision therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy. I also have like a neurophysiatrist, a neurologist. I have a great
Got the
care
full
team.
team. Yeah.
I got the full team, but for the first time
Good
ever.
for you.
Right.
Yeah.
So the testing I referred to earlier in this episode, I, had 3% of information, whatever. That test I basically did with another doctor up here in Washington. And being from California, like, I had to learn to deal with my post-PCS alone, like, without my family and without my boyfriend at the time for the past 3 years. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm on insurance now with like my job. So like that opened the doors for me to like find out, find this whole care team. And luckily here I found that, and I've never had that before. I've had bits and pieces of it. But again, when it comes to PCS and concussion stuff, I don't think people realize it takes this full team, because it was like my vision was impacted.
Right.
My speech was impacted, and I didn't realize any of that. And I didn't realize I needed all that until I'm finally in a place where, even though I'm super busy, I can kind of focus on it a little bit more, more than I've ever been able to before. So it looks interesting. PCS, like my life today, it still looks complex, and it's definitely not normal is how I would describe it. I still get headaches, but now it depends on when I'm taking my medication. So today I'm able to have access to a Jovi, which is a monthly migraine injection that I take. And that saved my life, truthfully. Like, it saved my mental health. I think I took it in like time periods within like my college and like high school career, and like just access insurance and stuff is just like a whole nother problem. But now I have access to it, so I've been able to be consistent with that. My neurologist luckily was able to double up on like another medication, and like that has helped a lot. Again, thankfully insurance is allowing it. PCS today looks like just still headaches from time to time. I think it's inconsistent workout schedules, because you're trying to figure out, if I work out today, like I'm probably gonna have a headache tomorrow, even though it's like not the same as San Jose State soccer training. It's still gonna raise my blood pressure and like cause that headache to happen more often than not. So that's what it looks like. Same with like drinking and like being very cognizant of like the decisions I make every day, whether that's what time I go to a grocery store, choosing to go super late or super early, because in the middle of the day it's super overwhelming for me. Same with restaurants. I found me and my boyfriend really love taking date nights on like Monday nights or like like Tuesdays when it's super chill and it's not super busy, because I get really overwhelmed. I have really bad anxiety, especially when I'm out in public or like around a lot of other people. Like, I get very overwhelmed easily. Making decisions is still really hard for me. I'm basically getting treatment as if I have ADHD, because my thoughts are like all over the place and I'm like running 1,000,000 miles per hour, and that still hasn't changed. So there's a lot of things that are still not normal. Losing my train of thought in like the middle of a sentence is like not normal. Like, I guess it is, but it's like not, at this rate that I do it at, not being able to word recall. Like, that was something on my test that was like, you have a hard time recalling words. It's like, like I went to vision or speech therapy, and they're like, think of like, name all the things that are in a kitchen.
I had to do that too, and that's,
oh my gosh. I
saw.
I know, I did too. I literally was like, nothing was coming to mind, which was crazy. Because, like, obviously I know, like, a knife is in the kitchen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I know a spoon. But it wasn't, I have those in my mind because I was thinking about it, truthfully. Name somewhere else, I probably wouldn't be able to recall it. But those things are not normal. So there's a lot of things that I'm still recovering from and like trying to nourish like these different areas that I didn't necessarily get to focus on, because when I was an athlete I was so focused on like the physical symptoms. Now it's like I'm trying to regrow and working on like the vision therapy part of it, the speech therapy, the physical therapy. My neck has been neglected for so long, so trying to work on that as well. Yeah,
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I don't think people understand like how many things it can impact. I always say, like, if I could design my perfect day, I won't have a headache. Like, I know what to do to not have a headache, but then you just add one little variable in there, like you're talking about, like a dinner, or like I'm like, yeah, I want to go out tonight, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to pay for it for probably a few days.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, and everything is like that. And I think it's so interesting because, again, we're both like having this conversation and presenting pretty normal. Like, I can go, give a presentation probably at some point and like talk in a meeting, and like no one's going to know that I'm dealing with these things. But those are the little things that I do have to consider on a day to day. I have to consider when I'm working out. I have to consider when I want to go to the grocery store. I have to think about, a social outing. If I go to a basketball game versus a baseball game, it's like the basketball game is probably going to give me a worse headache because of all the pounding and like being in an indoor stadium. Like, it's like math almost. Like, you just, like, you have to really think through each of those things. And I think that's something, like a huge takeaway for sure, because there's a lot that goes into it.
It's all encompassing, really. And if you try, because I've definitely been like, screw it. Yeah. I'm just going to do what everybody else does. Like, that's never going to work. Like, you're going to feel terrible.
It's so interesting because, like, I think I realized I gave myself some grace, because, like, a whole nother part of that is dealing with, like, insurance and dealing with making appointments, especially as an adult. Like, my parents are still a huge part of my support system. My boyfriend, who now lives up here, is part of my day-to-day support system. So he's helping me with when I get headaches, when I need to take my monthly injection, because I will not give it to myself. He still has to do it. I can't do it. Helping me get food. Like, those are things like that you don't think about. But like making dinner, it's like I'm usually tapped out. Like, another part of it is the exhaustion that I just deal with, like chronic fatigue almost.
Yep.
I wouldn't say chronic fatigue, but just like constant fatigue, especially on certain days. It's like my brain's just like tapped out. After this conversation, I'll probably be like done for the day, truthfully.
I know, and I'm so sorry.
No, it's like, it's okay. But like, that's just like being honest. Like, that's how it feels after a tough conversation. It's a lot. It's a lot. And so insurance is a whole nother thing, because, oh my gosh, you're dealing with them trying to get access to these different medications. I know there's been times where the Ajovy, which is the monthly migraine injection that I say literally cut my headaches in half, where they've been like, it doesn't seem like you really need this because things are getting better on paper. Yeah, it's getting better because I have access to this medication. Like, I need it. And, I realized, because my friend one day in the office was like, oh, I've been dealing with insurance all day, and she was, flustered. And I'm like, I like thought to myself, I'm like, that's like me every day. Like, and that's part of my norm. Like, it's every week. It's so exhausting, but it's like every week a new doctor's appointment to make, a new referral to make. And then when they get that referral, making the phone calls to get into that place. Like, I say vision therapy, speech therapy, all that, but it wasn't that easy to like set up all of that stuff. Like, it takes time, and it takes authorizations and stuff like that. And that's like a whole nother part of PCS, especially as a young adult, that's been super, super hard and exhausting. It's like constant on loop. It's like, you have your day-to-day things that you got to do, make dinner, make blah, 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 blah. But you also have to pay this bill, and you also have to make sure that insurance is going to cover this and make sure that they're following through with everything on their end too.
It's like a part-time job.
For sure. It is. And it's prioritizing yourself. And it's so important to do when you have post-concussion syndrome. And again, that's why I will always go back to the fact, like, having that support system is so important. Because even to this day, like, I still need my father at the age of 25 to be on the other line when I'm calling an insurance place or a doctor's office and making sure that I'm understanding everything correctly. When I got the results back from my recent I always forget what the test is called. But
neuropsych test.
Yeah, neuropsych test. When I got the results back from that, I made sure that my dad and my boyfriend were both on the call as she was delivering the results. So that way they could hear everything that she was suggesting, whether it was a type of therapy or like a mental therapy or whatever. But just having that extra hand can be so helpful. So letting someone in is important. It is important to talk it out. And that's why I know, going back to earlier, you said, what would you tell, these younger people? And it's like, let someone in and like let someone help you and find that person that you trust to really take on some of that burden, because it's a lot.
Yeah, and I love what you said about letting someone in and like having your boyfriend and your dad on a call so they can remember. I know other people are like, anything that happens, I write it down because I know I'm not going to remember it. Are there any other like little coping mechanisms or strategies that you've picked up throughout the years that have really helped you kind of manage in the day-to-day?
It's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I definitely try to write everything down. I mean, I've noticed that even as a professional, like in the workplace, as soon as like my boss comes and tells me something, I'm like writing it down immediately because I will forget. Lots of like grounding strategies as well. Like, again, anxiety is something that I deal with more than I ever had before. And just like learning those grounding techniques, like when I'm at a grocery store and I'm kind of feeling that flustered, like starting to get lightheaded, just like simply overwhelmed, I, have to remind myself, like, all 10 toes down. I'm in a grocery store. You're surrounded by people. Like, you are here to grab, eggs, like just trying to remember some of those things. That's been super helpful as well. And then like finding a community, I think, has also been super important. Just, it's important to be able to share, what you're going through with other people who can relate to that. And that also speaks to the work that Concussion Legacy is doing, to share those stories and, reach out.
Yeah, no, I love that. Those are all really good tips. I'm curious, you've kind of already said this, but I want to ask it to you. Like, if you were talking to someone who has never even heard of PCS before, how would you explain it to someone?
It is so hard for me to explain. I feel like it's one, I have to say, like, and I'll say it again, it's the brain, like acknowledging that and taking a step back and like being like, okay, there is a lot that the brain controls, So post-concussion syndrome can look different for everybody, I know a lot of people who have moved on and like don't deal with it anymore, or maybe they went to the vision therapy and stuff like that and that's helped. But for me, post-concussion is super all-encompassing in the sense of it's impacting my day-to-day, mentally, physically, socially, all of those areas. It impacts me, and just being aware that someone may be dealing with headaches, someone, like, just because you can't see it or they're not showing it. Like, I'm not constantly going like this at work. There are days and it's probably pretty obvious, but I'm not constantly doing this.
Right.
And I shouldn't have to, like, just to show you're in pain. That's how I would describe post-concussion syndrome. Like, it's just all encompassing of all of those different things. And again, it looks different for everybody and everyone deals with it differently, but it's something that does impact the day-to-day for most, I would say.
Yeah. What would you say is the most challenging part of PCS?
Probably
loaded question again.
No, I mean, there's so many different areas that are challenging. I mean, it's hard that no one can see it. Like, that's probably the most challenging, and just dealing with it alone. I think also the toll it takes on one and a family as well. Like, not only has it impacted me, it's impacted my family. It's impacted, my siblings. They've had to see me in a dark room and like wonder like what's wrong with Hannah. My sister, when I was, down in that kind of dark area again, my sophomore year, like, has gotten me out of bed and been like, let's go get some light. You know what I mean? Like, let's go. So I think that's the most challenging, and something that's not often acknowledged is like the toll that it can take on a family and, the support system too, because it does impact everything. It's like they've spent however many of those years, 13 to 18, still today, advocating for me and making sure that I have the proper access to resources and stuff like that. That is probably, truthfully, the hardest thing, is making sure that you have access to the right things. And that's half the battle, is the education behind it, because I didn't have any of that education. Luckily, you know, I'm with a support system that was willing to take that on and learn about it and got me into the best positions possible. But not having the education is like so hard. And again, pride can get in the way. I've met a lot of people who are like, I don't want my kid on, you know, this type of plan. It's like, trust me, it'll help. But again, that's why education is so key. And that's been the most challenging part about it. It was challenging going through a concussion injury alone at age 13 because no one knew really what that is. I just knew like it was like you sit out for 2 weeks and that's it. Like it's actually sounded pretty mild. But now I feel like the conversation is getting passed around a lot more, and it's like being talked about more in society, and I feel like it's becoming more accepted, but it's so misunderstood. And actually, that's the most challenging thing for me, truthfully. Like, really to the core, I really struggle with that. I struggle with just like how, like, no one understands it, and no one, like, the lack of like conversation around it until recently, no one has known about.
No, there's so many different challenging parts, and I appreciate you acknowledging like the families too. Like that's such a big part of it. So I love that you said that. In kind of closing, we always ask, and I know this might be a little challenging because obviously you're still like in the thick of it. You're going through it. You've made a lot of progress, but there's still a lot of things that impact your day-to-day life, like you said. What would you say to someone watching this who is going through it right now and is looking for some hope and inspiration? What would you say to them?
I think my advice would be, you know, to just understand that it's a long recovery and it takes a lot of patience. I think that's something that if I would have known, like, that everybody's is different, everybody's concussion is different, and, like, stopped comparing myself to other people, I would have probably been in a much better spot, understanding that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And while I'm not 100% better, I am a lot better than I was. I was able to get my degree. I was able to play Division I soccer and, you know, work for a major league team. So I am accomplishing a lot, and I still am doing it. I'm just doing it with some symptoms, you know, that I still am learning to cope with and deal with. And that's challenging, but it's a lot better than where I was. So I would just really emphasize, like, everybody's injury is different. It's your brain. Take care of it. Like, don't rush and go back to sports. Even if it feels like the end of the world, like, take the time to heal. Those 2 weeks, especially right after a concussion, are so important. Like, take that time and just let your brain rest. And as you go on that journey, like, I promise you, like, you will find the help that you need. You will still accomplish some things that you want. It just may look differently, and that's okay.
Yeah, and it is. And I love that message so much. And I feel really confident that so much of what you shared is going to really help people understand it. So I think with that, I will just say, Hannah Hall, thank you so much for joining us on Invisible Impact.
Yeah.
We're cheering you on as you continue to recover. So glad for all the progress you've made and just really inspired by your journey.
Yeah, and thank you for all of the work that Concussion Legacy Foundation does. As I mentioned, I'm a peer mentor. I believe that's what it's called. I can't recall. Peer mentor, right?
Peer support volunteer.
Peer support volunteer, yeah. And I love that, you know, because I'm getting to see somebody who also, you know, actually is pretty similar age as me, was also hoping to play college sports, and I'm able to share some of that knowledge that I've gained with this person. And it is so important, you know, to create that network, to tell those stories. Like, that's how we're going to get more information out there, is by continuing to elevate these stories and, you know, share the word. So I'm really appreciative of the platform, and I just want to say thank you to CLF.
Well, thank you. Thanks for all you do.